Well, I've been told that it's 3:59. We're very close to 4 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Appreciate everybody's attendance here today. We especially appreciate the fact that Ralph Atkins from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is here to give us our opening prayer. After our prayer, Lieutenant Colonel David Houston from a retired U.S. Marine Corps will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Before the prayer, I just say thank you to the Commission for participating in 2 weeks in the National Day of Prayer. I think it's the first time that the Commission has actually done that, and so from the public affairs standpoint of the church here in Washington County, we're just grateful for your participation. Thank you. Our dear Heavenly Father, as we come together at the beginning of this Washington County Commission meeting, we're grateful, Father, for the freedoms of this great land that we live in, and we're grateful for those who are willing to dedicate their time and effort in serving this community. And we pray, Father, for their blessings to be with them, with wisdom and understanding and patience and all the things that they may desire and stand in need of as they deliberate over the affairs of this county and our meeting this day. We express our gratitude for the blessings of freedom that we have, the right to assemble and to express our thoughts and to discuss them in open forums such as this. So we express our love to Thee and gratitude and pray for Thy blessings to be upon this commission and those who participate today, that they may have Thy blessings and Spirit with them, we pray. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Please stand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. First item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is the means of expediting routine matters which come before the Commission for approval. The consent portion of the agenda is approved by one non-debatable motion. If any commissioner wishes to remove an item from the consent portion of the agenda, that item becomes the first order of business on the regular agenda.
I'd be happy to, it doesn't matter. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve or make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of item A, consideration of auditor approved claims for payment for April 5th, 2017 through April 18th, 2017. Consideration of work meeting minutes of March 28th, 2017 and regular commission meeting minutes of April 4th, 2017. Consideration of administrative adjustments for real property. Consideration of administrative adjustments on personal property. Consideration of application for property tax abatement. Consideration of applications for settlement or deferral of property taxes. Corrections of property tax abatement on account number 456551 and ratification of the 2017 Victims of Crime Act grant application for the Children's Justice Center. And finally, item I, consideration of approval of amendment number 1 to donation agreement related to the Red Cliffs Long Valley Land Exchange. BLM number on that is UTU 88966FD/PT.
Thank you very much.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 1 on our regular agenda is consideration of purchase request and ratification of purchase request. Mark Blanche.
Let's see him.
Anybody? Oh. Well, Susan could.
Susan.
Well, does anybody want to, I've reviewed these, I mean, they're pretty standard.
Or you could amend your agenda and move that to the.
Well, that's a good idea. Thanks, Eric. Well, I don't see our good sheriff, but I see James here. Well, actually, Daryl, who's gonna, so the next item is a emergency service report.
I'd be happy to address that.
Oh, very good.
So before I start here, we have had a busy month, so I won't highlight all these in detail. But pay attention to the dates as we go through them, because you'll notice it's 2 or 3 on the same day, or 3 or 4 in a row. So Daryl's been busy, as have the search and rescue volunteers certainly. So on 3/24, we had a motorcycle crash on Sand Mountain where the subject was life flighted. That was 24 man hours. On 3/25, we had an ATV accident on Sand Mountain. Again, life flighted. Another 20 man hours. On 4/1, again on Sand Mountain. This place is highly litigious.
Starting to see a pattern
Yes.
here.
We had another injured motorcyclist, 24 hours. That one, however, did not involve life flight, so we're off to a pretty good start there. On April 1st, 4/1, we had an injured mountain biker on Guacamole Trail, and don't ask me where Guacamole Trail is, but Daryl would probably tell you. There you go.
Oh, okay.
That was another 20 man hours. Again on 4/1, we had a stranded motorist of General Steam Road. She was 78 years old. It took us, what? It was she was 7 or 8 miles in. That was another 28 man hours on that search and rescue event. We had on April 2nd, another injured mountain biker on the Stookie Trail. That was 27 man hours. On April 5th, motorcycle accident off Cottonwood Road. That one was not on Sand Mountain, so that's a good start. That was 22 man hours. On 4/7, we had an injured mountain biker at Mesa Trail. That was 22 and a half hours. On 4/9, we had some lost hikers in Canaan Mountain. That one was 36 hours donated by Search and Rescue. On 4/14, we had an injured hiker up Molly's Nipple Trail. Was this our 16-year-old?
Yes, you can
Yes.
see the bill on that.
Well, this one happened to be a daughter of one of our deputies. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, it was interesting to respond to that one. He was very grateful, let's put it that way. On 4/14, we had a UTV accident, Manganese Trail. That's 8 hours. And I'll let Daryl talk about this last one because it is a phenomenal story of somebody who got ledged up in Snow Canyon, which happens typically a couple times a year, but this one was of particular interest because this person is so lucky to be alive.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
That-
Yeah, there were a few of these that were quite interesting. A lot of people we did rescue were severely injured. We had broken backs, we had broken shoulders, pelvises, so we've had some pretty serious ones. Broken wrists, 11-year-old. So this last one, this young man went hiking with 2 girls, got out of the car, the 2 girls took off one trail. He goes, "See you later," and he took off another trail and left them down in the canyon. Somehow he worked himself all the way back up on the White Rocks, the back of Snow Canyon, and he slipped and fell. Now, the story I got today is he was about 400 feet down from the top, and he ended up on a ledge about 2 feet wide. And from there, it was almost 1,000 to the bottom straight. And he sat on there for around 6 hours. It was cold, it was night, it was dark. No water, no food. So the search and rescue guys were phenomenal, and it took them a 2-hour hike just to get above him. Then they had to set up riggings, and I'm going to tell you, do you know what a meat anchor is? They used 2 meat anchors because they had nothing else to tie to lower the rescuer down to this gentleman, tie him on a line, on a separate line, and raise him up, and then the rescuer came up. And they told the rescuer that they needed to pull him off line to do something. He said, no, just leave me on line because that's how narrow that thing was. So they pulled him up, hiked him back out 2 hours, and he actually, surprisingly, only had some bumps and bruises. And he refused any medical, hopped in a car and took off with the girls he was supposed to like with. But he is very, very lucky he's alive. If he'd have slipped any further, it would have been to the bottom.
Thank you. I'm just constantly impressed by our sheriff's office, our search and rescue supervision, and especially the search and rescue team. If you can figure out how to downplay the number of responses and get people to be a little more responsible, I think we'd be appreciative of that as well.
Commissioner, I didn't add the two that we rescued our own people.
I wouldn't have either, but I would give you some advice to make sure that for the Christmas party, that a picture of their indiscretion is prominently shown to all of the members.
Noted.
It seems to me that as I've listened to these reports, that they kind of go in waves. Like
Yeah.
it seems that you'll go a couple months just crazy busy, and then things will kind of ebb off a little bit. And there doesn't seem to be any real rhyme or reason behind it.
I'm finding it's following the weather patterns.
Is it? Interesting. Huh.
Well, did you read the article about our search and rescue team recently?
Yeah.
It portrays you guys to be so confident and efficient that people want to see that, in action. And so they go out there, and it was a good article. About you guys.
Yeah.
Mark's here.
We sure appreciate you.
We really do. We appreciate you. Well, we'll jump back to item 1. Now that Mark has entered the room, we appreciate him joining us to help us go through that.
Sorry about that.
All right, you're
I'm
fine.
busy there. So the first we have is for the library, and they're putting in new signs at Hurricane, Washington, and St. George libraries. And the total budget is $18,500, made as a budgeted item for them. The next one we have is for fuel out the road department, and it is for $20,507.31. Next one we have is for the sheriff department out there where they're doing that office workers housing building. This is for the design and development of that building, and it is for $14,225. And then we have 2 that we are ratifying today. Both of them are for mobilization of a crusher and equipment out of Motaka Road. And first one is for $138,200, and the second one is for $126,720, and that is money that they have in their budget. They need to get that done, so we just need to ratify those 2 so that they need to get started on that. So.
Wayne, how's that Mataqua Road working out? Oh, good.
It's beautiful. We kind of consider it a miracle. But there's no reason logic and common sense why you guys would do it.
Are we ratifying this because that equipment was already out on the west side of the county and we just needed to move a little ways? Or?
Yeah, I know it was already pre-signed when I got it from the commissioner, so I just made him a PO and told me to ratify it later. It was already done.
Commissioner Cox, the commission approved those expenditures in a contract that was on a prior commission agenda, so this is just a purchase order. It's kind of going through a process.
Okay, that makes sense. I thought this was that equipment that was on that Highway 91 road stuff that we moved over to the top.
Thanks.
Very good. Do I have a motion?
So Commissioner, I'll go ahead, Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase request and ratifications as outlined by the clerk auditor's office.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Item 3, consideration of ordinance 2017-1084-0, an ordinance amending the traffic control chapter of the Washington County Code. Ron Whitehead, I have you to speak to this.
This is just changing our ordinance for access to Caldwell Mountain in the early spring of the year. We have that road shut down from April, usually till the end of June, depending on how soon the water gets away from the road and the sub base is firmed up so we can drive on without destroying it. And it simply takes out of view happened to sign for it and puts it all down in Public Works.
I think that's a very good move, because I know I don't have any expertise on road moisture conditions and weight bearing.
Of course, you usually have an expertise on weather patterns on coal.
I can't tell you I can drive that road with my eyes closed.
Muscle memory on that.
Yeah. Okay.
It is
So,
important. Thank you.
I'd make a motion then that we approve ordinance number 2017-1084-0, an ordinance amending the traffic control chapter of the Washington County Code.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Item 4, consideration of ordinance 2017-1085-0, an ordinance amending Washington County Code Title 11, Chapter 5, Section 3, to modify street improvement standards in county subdivisions. Todd and Ron, probably Todd. Or Ron. Or Scott.
I watched Todd explain this very well to our planning commission, so I know he's got a very good understanding.
We'll give you the short version unless you really want the long version. This is, I guess, two different ordinances. First one is to take the width of our streets, minimum width of our streets from 50 feet to 40 feet. And the second one has to do with our design standards, and it basically implements those into our design standards. So the first one's for the county code, and the second one's for our county.
So does this basically give us twice as many choices for picking the road width, or how does that?
It does. As you're aware, one of the developers came in looking to see if they could reduce the width of the right-of-way in order to try to save disturbance. And so we had a public meeting with the county commission, and we got a lot of good input. We got a lot of people from the development industry, as well as engineers and home builders. And so we were able to look at and see just what our minimums are and what we can try to fit within a narrower right-of-way. It saves money, saves maintenance, saves a lot of different things. And so that's what we looked at. After going back and forth quite a few times with some of the other engineers and developers, we were able to come up with a cross-section that we can fit within a 40-foot wide right-of-way. The main reason we couldn't do it before is we always wanted to have 28 feet of asphalt, but then we had to have earthen ditches. In order to get those ditches away from the asphalt, we had to have them very far out. We wanted to keep those ditches in the right-of-way because we needed to be able to improve them. We didn't want people building fences across them and that kind of stuff. So that was hindering us. So what we looked at and what we came up with was a 28-foot wide of asphalt, but we put a mountable curb on each side. So we'll increase the cost to the developer because I'll have to put a curb rather than an earthen ditch.
But it allows them to use a narrower foot.
Allows them to use a narrower cross-section because we don't need the ditches anymore. Then we looked at the minimums of how far off of the travel way we needed to have a clear zone. And for the type of roads that we're dealing with, an 8-foot clear zone is usually okay. So we have a 12-foot travel lane, and an 8-foot clear zone, that's 20 feet on each side. So that's where we sit our minimum right away. So that allows us to have the asphalt, curb and gutter, and then actually a 4-foot area behind that that would need to be kept clear of any kind of obstructions like mailboxes and trees and fire hydrants, that kind of stuff. And that would also allow that 4-foot area to have an optional sidewalk. If it was determined that the pedestrian requirements or loading in a particular subdivision warranted it, we could add sidewalk to one side or the other or both. So that was kind of the reason we did this. In order to do that, we made some changes to our county design standards. They hadn't been changed for probably 8 years, since August of 2009. And so I can go through those quickly if you'd like on each of those. I think there was about a dozen different changes. Changed the title page to just change the ordinance number and when it would be revised. We added 3 different drawings. One for a modified curb and gutter that's 24 inches wide. We had one at 30 inches wide. This one just allowed us to narrow it down a little bit. What we call an alternative road cross-section for a 40-foot wide right-of-way, which is the one I just talked about. And then we also clarified our gravel standard. We really didn't have a standard drawing that showed what our gravel roads are, so we added that. So that's what these three are, these three drawings that would be going into our standards. And then in section 2.2.9, we removed the requirement to have the gas line in the middle of the easement. That's for a variety of reasons. For one thing, if we allow it to be on one side of the easement, it allows less disturbance, of course, because you keep it closer to the right-of-way. Also, the gas company and the power company have looked at putting a gas line and power line down both sides of the road, so they don't have to cross the road. And so that would allow them to have the gas line on one side of the easement, power line on the other side of the easement. So we took that requirement out. That was a requirement that we had, but that the utility companies did not have, so we came into conformance with them. Section 3.1, we just changed it from said all new developments shall use the typical street cross sections with a 50 feet or more right-of-way. We just reduced that to 40 feet or more right-of-way. We added those two sections to our street cross-section table. On sidewalks, before, if you had curb and gutter, we required sidewalk. And now we have allowed that to actually be flexible. Because on this new section, it's typically going to be in a rural area. We've allowed a 2-foot paved shoulder plus the gutter and the curb and gutter. So we don't think that we're going to need sidewalk everywhere. So that took the requirement for sidewalk out of that. And it could be waived by the county representative, which is the public works director. Next one, we used to have a separation between gas and power of 10 feet. Utility company said that's too much, so we allowed that to go down to 3 feet, which is their standard. In section 3.6.6, the fire hydrant, we had some wording in there that allowed the hydrants to be placed inside of a planter strip. And we changed that a little bit, just to say that they need to be 8 foot off the travel way. And so we don't really care where they are, so much as they're 8 foot off the travel way. That puts them also out in the easement rather than in the right of way. And I think that was all the changes we had. There were a lot more changes to the standards than I thought would need to for that one little change, but it was nice to go through the standards and kind of update them a little bit, make sure that they're current. Have any questions?
No, I just appreciate, I think we're giving, it was a great process because we brought all these people in, they had to give their input, we've given them more options, and that's what I like is, government to be able to let people have more flexibility, and I think we've done this. And I think in the end, we'll have a good product that protects us, so I appreciate what you've done.
One thing we've always been worried a little bit is about putting curb and gutter because we chip seal and then curb and gutter, you couldn't get the chips away from the road. With this modified curb, we should be able to sweep them right beyond the curb line to get them out. Plus, we also bought a culvert cleaning truck that allows it to as a vacuum, so they can actually sweep them into the gutter and vacuum them out quite easily now. So they have that flexibility.
Well, thank you. I think for our county, in unincorporated areas, there's so much diversity in where people are building, so we need a little bit of flexibility there. So, do I have a motion?
Sure. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2017-1085-0 and ordinance amending Washington County Title 11, Chapter 5, Section 3 to modify street improvement standards in county subdivisions.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I think Todd
And I would make a motion, Todd spoke to it.
Todd spoke to 5 as well.
Approve ordinance number 2017-1086-0, an ordinance adopting amendments to the Washington County Construction and Design Standards.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 6, consideration of ordinance number 2017-1087-0, an ordinance amending the wireless communication facilities chapter of the Washington County Code.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. the Planning Commission spent several meetings going over the wireless telecommunication ordinance, wanting to clear up some of the language and also add definitions of terms that are used that weren't previously defined. One of the other clarifying things that we did in there is we created a table that talks about, and it has on that table all the different types of wireless telecommunication facilities and each of the zones and whether they are permitted or conditional uses or not permitted in each of those zones. And so it's a little more user-friendly as anyone wanting to put in one of those towers would be able to go through that table. Some of the other things that we added is we didn't want someone that's having DirecTV come put in satellite on their house to have to meet the wireless telecommunication ordinance. And so we've called out some items such as that in there that they don't have to meet these requirements. And we just added some additional language and clarification, and I'll be happy to go into more detail if you have any. But I feel like the Planning Commission had some really good comments on it, and after in this last meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, they unanimously recommended approval of the ordinance the way it sits. Commissioner Cox was involved in this process and gave some comments that were very useful to the Planning Commission and staff. So just thank you for that.
I'd like to recognize the work the Planning Commission put in. This has been a long time that they've been working on it, and they've had a lot of thoughtful discussion. And so I'd make a motion to amend ordinance 2017-1087-0, an ordinance amending the wireless communications facilities chapter of the Washington County Code.
So I've got a couple of questions if you don't mind.
Okay.
So some of it's just tacky, but it kind of helps. So on page 2 of the item C, see that where you have A, B, and C.
Okay.
This is just coming from reading a lot of code in my life. I think instead of saying, because you have A, B, C, then it seems like C, these are a subset of C.
Yes.
So instead of labeling them A, B, C again,
Yeah.
we should label them 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, that's
Good
So,
catch.
well, that's just for reading.
That's an attorney catch. Isn't it?
Yeah. Then another question I have is and I've talked about this before, is in the table, it seems like someone in a residential community of like a 20,000 square foot lot, under this could put up a big, huge tower with guide poles and everything, and our code would still allow that. And I would see that as a problem. Now, out in the countryside, I think that's great, but in a smaller residential, and I don't know if the Planning Commission had a chance to address that, or what was their...
I know they talked. I'm wondering if you're speaking specifically to amateur antennas.
No.
Not imagine too many commercial facilities in somebody's private backyards.
So I know like up in Danvers Valley, they wanted to put a big lattice cell phone tower right in the middle of the subdivision out there. And the neighbors got together and they petitioned, and that situation was very good because the developer, whoever put the light in, or this tower, agreed to move it out of the community.
yes.
But they could have put a big lattice tower right in the middle of Danvers Valley, right next to residential development. And it seems like this would be saying that's a permitted use.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of discussion on that. The last category in that table is the guide towers, and those are usually the really tall, skinny ones with the guide wires coming off of them. And we originally had those as not permitted in pretty much all zones except like open space and agricultural. But there were members of the Planning Commission that were very vocal about feeling that people should be able to put those anywhere, including commercial or smaller residential lots. There was some back and forth between the Planning Commission, but eventually all the Planning Commissioners agreed with that. And so staff made those changes to make it a conditional use in all zones.
So then the other question is, when we get to page 6, section C, we have in there about accessory buildings, and it talks about monopoles shall be fenced and limiting access, but why didn't you include that in like the lattice towers and guide towers and, I don't know if you even had a chance to even look at that.
No, the intent was to have it so that whether it's a monopole, if Verizon puts in a monopole, that the facility is fenced and that it be fenced. And so I wanted to read through it.
It talks about the accessory pools, but then it talks about monopoles shall be fenced with 6 foot.
Maybe what needs to be struck there is something just saying that this antenna shall be fenced with 6 foot, not
monopoles.
specific to monopoles.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, if they had some big guided pole,
Well,
Or
I
lattice
think
tower.
the advantage of having it fixed is to keep some kid
yeah, exactly.
from
Yes.
gaining access to it, whether it's a lattice or whatever. We don't want them climbing, and especially coming out close proximity to transmitting microwave antennas, because we all have a pretty good idea what those can do to you. I'm wondering if that's just maybe is that an oversight? Maybe
Yes, it
we
is.
should probably strike the word monopole.
And it's a good catch. That's how our existing code reads. That wasn't something that they reviewed. It's just a good catch on it.
Yes.
Part of cleanup.
And all of this would be a conditional use, right? So any structure, any antenna would have to come before at least staff for review.
So staff would review them. There are some that are permitted uses in there. There are some instances like co-location that's a permitted use. So if that's an existing monopole or lattice pole, and let's say that it's AT&T put up the pole and Verizon is going to come co-locate. We encourage that because it's less towers and it provides better service for the residents of the county. But yes, if Verizon came in with a new tower, they would need to go before the planning commission for conditional use approval.
I kind of have a question on that, if it's okay, commissioners. So the way conditional use permits work is it's kind of presumed that once the commission says something can be a conditional use, that it's allowed. But if the planning commission has any concerns with that it might impact the neighborhood in some way, then they can take steps to fix that. So if someone's going to put up a guide, whatever the huge tall, what's up the strings looks like,
Yes,
if someone's
yeah.
going to put that in a subdivision, and they come in and apply for the conditional use permit, what types of conditions would be placed on that to protect the community?
That is one thing that is actually, there are some changes coming down from the state with this last legislative session having to do with what is conditional uses and how much or how little public clamor can play in the approval or denial of a conditional use. And the line, quite honestly, the way I interpret it is the line between permitted and conditional uses is becoming more blurred. And that even if the residents are upset about a tower being put in to property near their home, unless and this is something that will be coming back with more as we look at our conditional uses. What's happening at the state is they're wanting more and more. If you are going to have conditions for a conditional use approval or things that you want to require, it needs to be outlined in your code now. And so
Which means this would basically allow all of those things to happen.
Yes.
Listing them as conditional uses, but, so like a conditional use, if you put an auto shop in your backyard, you have a conditional use of having a higher fence, so it's blocked, you can't get in. With a cell phone tower, there's just not much you could do. So by listing it as a conditional use, it would be basically a permitted use.
So Commissioner Cox, I guess what's tough with ordinances too is, I would have loved us to sit down and talk about this, but because of Open Meetings Act, we can't discuss as much. So I guess my concern, a lot of this stuff I'm really good with, I think it's a good move, but I guess my biggest concern is, let's say in Diamond Valley, someone goes and buys a lot right in the center of Diamond Valley and puts up a big antenna. And we've seen that in other places in the county, and I wouldn't like that, my next door neighbor. My next door neighbor having a big, huge industrial-looking antenna complex in a residential area. And it sounds like they discussed that a little bit in planning. That would be my concern. The other places in the county, I'd actually just make them allowed, more open. But in the residential, I would like to. So is there a way we could do that, or would you be against that, or?
I came in and listened to the planning commission's discussion on that, and we have a couple of commissioners who are very much centric to property rights. And I didn't speak or say anything, I just sat back there and listened and listened to it play out and was curious as to where they would end on it. Ultimately, the young commissioner that's been recently appointed carried some fairly persuasive arguments that thought that unless things really impact health and safety, a person should be able to do what they want. But I'm open to, my preference at this point would probably be to pass this, and then let's see what kind of feedback we get. It's really difficult as a county. We use one template for almost 2,500 square miles. And oftentimes, I think why small areas choose eventually to incorporate is so that they can have a set of planning and zoning ordinances that are a better fit for their particular area. And so as long as we're using a one-size-fits-all, by my very nature, I'm probably going to try to be as accommodative of the public as I can, but I recognize there's two sets of property rights that we have to consider, and certainly I'd be open to reevaluating this at any time that we saw that it was problematic, such as we just did on our road design standards, where we listened, had a work meeting that was advertised, we let the public come in and talk about it, we studied it, we researched it, we implemented it today.
So I know, like up in the Cliff Dweller subdivision, there's a gentleman that bought a house. He lived there. Someone put up a big lattice cell tower in his backyard, and now he can't. He's had the house on the market for months, and he's struggled with that because people come out to look at the house. The first thing they see is that big lattice cell tower in his backyard, and they say no. And you know, safety wise, I think it's fine. But he's saying, hey, it destroyed the value of my house.
I totally relate with that. And then I relate as well with all of the individuals who aren't anywhere close to seeing that tower. And they're instead looking at their phone and say, oh yeah, I finally got a couple of bars, I can make that phone call. And so we've all become tethered to electronic devices. And it seems like technology always brings a good face and a bad, and finding that balance that meets the needs of all of us to be digitally connected, yet balance that against the adverse impact it could have on the property rights of an individual is probably not an easy decision, and something we'll have to be very thoughtful about, but cognizant of.
So, how would you feel that if we take the smaller residential, like the 20 and the 40, so we're talking smaller lots here, and at least for the lattice towers, guard towers, I guess.
Specifically on which page, what would you like to see?
So on page
4 and 5?
I guess it would be 5, just 5.
Okay.
So we have RE20 and RE40. So these are 20,000 square foot lots and 40,000 square foot lots. So we're talking small lots. And so right now, if you go to lattice towers and those towers and stuff like that, I would like to say that they're not allowed. So we simply say, you know, in those small residential areas, we're just not going to allow a guide or lattice tower, but we allow the rest. And that way we're still being a little bit cautious, but we're still leaving the vast majority of the county open to almost anything.
Are you going to also include in that the SF R110 and SF R112? So those are just little, we have very few areas in the county that are zoned, but that's 10,000 and 12,000 square foot lots, more like a municipality would have in a county.
Okay. Oh, and you already have not allowed in some of those. Okay.
Correct, yes.
Well, I would accept that. So you've got changes on the numbering.
So I guess with that input, what I would say is in RE20 and RE40, change the, so we still keep the wall mounted, the roof mounted conditional, and the collated permitted. Because I think that's a great idea, like, there's already tower
And
there.
this specifically does not apply to amateur radio antennas. is
Correct.
what I get.
And I agree with that, yeah.
I will accept that as a friendly amendment
Okay.
to my motion. And so that would be the RA10.
No, it would just be the RE20
RE20
and the RE40.
RE20 and 40 and the SFR 1-10 and SFR 1-12.
Yeah, and we'll just put not permitted, well, we still allow the wall
So
mounted.
we'd keep the table, but we would change those to not permitted.
Yeah, except where we allow, well, conditional is still wall mounted and roof mounted is still conditional. Collated is permitted, and then the other one's not permitted. If you accept that.
Okay, I'll accept that. You got all that?
Brian, are you okay?
Could you just say it all as one thing?
I can restate, commissioners, I can take a shot at it. So my understanding of the motion is that the ordinance would be approved with the following changes. That on the table on page 5, the RE20, RE40, SFR 1-10, and SFR 1-12 rows would each be changed so that monopole, lattice tower, stealth, and guide tower would be not permitted in those zones.
And we change the numbering.
And change the formatting on page 2 so that where you have letters following letters on an indent, they change to numbers.
And was there also the comment about the monopole?
Yes,
On page
strike the monopole for all,
Okay.
Okay,
for all
I
antennas.
think it was on page 6, number C.
correct.
Is that better?
Thank you for that
That's
friendly
better.
amendment.
Very good. With that, we have an amended motion on the table. All those in favor say, you
I
did
second it, yeah.
You seconded that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you, Scott.
Mhm.
It is a tough dilemma to
Well, we have
figure
such
out property rights on both
a
sides of the
big,
fence.
diverse
We
county
really do.
where we have what I would say very typical neighborhoods, but then we have Itaqua where you have to have four-wheel drive to get out there.
Yeah. Well, and Scott spoke to the point that conditional really doesn't mean that it's open to very much review, other than making sure you follow the basic standards, so there's no opportunity for staff to weigh in on that.
Yes.
Very good. Let's see, the next item, I'm glad you're staying there, Scott, is a consideration of ordinance 2017-1088-0, an ordinance rezoning a certain portion of Washington County near Kolob from PD, Planned Development Zone, to OST-20, Open Space Transitional 20-acre minimum lot size zone, hereby fully described in this ordinance.
Okay, so you may remember several months ago that the Moyles came in with a zone change request for PD development. There was going to be several dwellings put on the property up there. After receiving that approval and preliminary plat approval for the project, their plans changed, and they are wanting to rezone the property back to open space transition, the same acreage that was zoned to PD. And with that, it's not part of the zone change, but just to let you know what they're wanting to do. They're still going to be, the Moyle's son, Sam, will be building a home up there and will be full-time residents, but then they are seeking they received conditional use approval by the Planning Commission in this month's meeting for rural recreation grounded facilities. So it'd be campgrounds. They are limited at this time just because of the amount of septic and water available with those campgrounds, but there'll be approximately 8 camping locations there. And the Planning Commission's thought and staff's thought are there's a lot of unregulated camping happening in that area, and that this would help to alleviate some of that, although small. But the Planning Commission reviewed the zone change request, a public hearing was held, and the planning commission unanimously recommended approval of the zone change, and so it's before you today.
Very good.
I don't have any comments.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then that we approve ordinance number 2017-1088-0, an ordinance rezoning a certain portion of Washington County near Kolob Road from PD zone to OST 20 zone, hereinafter fully described in this ordinance.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
8, we are now suspending, or I'll open it up for a motion to suspend Washington County Commission meeting and opening of the Municipal Building Authority meeting of Washington County.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to suspend our county commission meeting and to subsequently open a municipal building authority meeting in Washington County.
I have a motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Motion passes. So right now we are in public hearing for Municipal Building Authority. Public hearing to allow the public input regarding the issuance and sale of not more than 1.7 million aggregate principal amount of lease revenue bonds, Series 2017. Any potential economic impact that the improvements, facilities, or property financed in whole or in part with the proceeds of the bonds may have on the private sector and related matters. And so this is in regards to the Hurricane Valley Fire District, and I'll kind of turn it over to either Dean or Eric.
Well, I would like to recognize our Chief Executive Officer of the Hurricane Valley Fire Special Service District. And it seemed kind of like deja vu having this hearing. But I wondered if maybe leading off on the comments of the hearing, if the Chief would like to come up and explain to us what fire station is, where it's being built, and what populace it's going to serve.
Like or will? I will, I don't know if I like. This item before you deals with the Hurricane Valley Fire District and a station that the Municipal Building Authority has been gracious enough to help facilitate our construction. It's the same one that's located in Coral Canyon that we have started construction because this group has already executed a bond with the CIB to move that building forward. Unfortunately, with the changes in construction, the cost of that building has gone up substantially. And so by redoing this bond allows us to complete the station in its entirety. The station is intended to serve the county area as well as the Hurricane Valley Fire District and Washington City, portions of Washington City. So we're in negotiations with the city to not only facilitate payment of that bond, but also to staff and to operate that station as a joint operation between the two entities. So if you are able to pass this, so this passes today by the Municipal Building Authority, I believe we have a potential closing coming up at the first part of May, which allows us to authorize the contractor to complete the services that we would like to have finished on the building.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public? I don't see very many public here, but this is a public hearing.
You know, a comment, Mr. Chairman, that I'll make while we're waiting to see if anybody wants to come up, is I think this is a really good example of two entities, the City of Washington and the Hurricane Valley Fire Special Service District, which is really a collaboration of Washington County, the City of Hurricane, La Verkin, Tokerville, and Virgin, and Leeds now, all coming together to cooperatively meet a need. And even this station at Coral Canyon will be one of the closest stations to parts of Leeds. And so we're leveraging these dollars instead of replicating them. We're really leveraging that value by making one great investment. And the other point that I'd like to thank the CIB for is they've granted $500,000 of the cost, which is a gift to the residents of the county and the area that will be served. And to my knowledge, it's one of the first grants of that nature that's ever come to Washington County. And so I think that is monumental.
Well, given the fact that there was no public here, well, there are, I apologize. Anybody that, do I see anybody else that would like to make a comment? If not, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Speak once or lose your chance. With that, I'll accept a motion closing the Municipal Building Authority's meeting of Washington County and reconvening the Washington County Commission.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the Municipal Building Authority meeting and reconvene as Washington County Commissioners.
I'll second.
I have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. 9, consideration of resolution R-2017-2178, a resolution amending the fees for services for the Washington County Treasurer's Department. And Brenda, Hunter, good to see you here.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We actually are proposing to lower our credit card fees from the original proposed of up to 3%. We've contracted with a company, well, not contracted, it's free, but we're working with a company that is doing our convenience fee for 2.5%. And also opened up electronic checks for payments in-house and online. And there's around 49 cents per transaction.
That's great. How many people are using the electronic payment methods now?
We probably have about 500. It's grown over the years, and we went with this third-party secure instant payments because it was getting too much to do manually. So everything is more automated. Yeah, so it's good. We can grow as much as we want.
Good. I think this is where things are going.
Yeah.
Or is the way people do business. So.
Yes, a lot of people are very happy that they can pay with credit card now.
I think that's a great service, and if it's being used by 500 people, we're doing the right thing.
Well, and those 500, we have more than that that are paying with credit card, but we have that many that are now on monthly payments that are prepaying. So
they
that's
will balance their property tax payments out.
automatic, yeah, and the system does the final payment in November automatically, so they don't get over or under, and they stay right even still. We get a lot of people that want to overpay because they're nervous about it or something, and then we end up having to refund and stuff. So it's a really good system.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to approve resolution R-2017-2178, a resolution amending the fees for services for the Washington County Treasurer's Department.
Second.
I have a second and a motion. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. So item number 10, consideration of resolution R-2017-2179, a resolution expressing gratitude to the Administrative Control Boards, Southwestern and Diamond Valley Fire Special Service Districts.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you remember a month ago, we were working to bring those two districts together so that they could complete a project that we started sometime prior. I'm really pleased to comment that although they have not been able to completely bring that to fruition yet, they've been working steadily and making great progress on that, and I have been very impressed by that. But at this time, I'd like to make a motion actually that we table R-2017-2179, and we can deal with it after it's all completed or in another way.
Very good.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to table item 10. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is tabled. 11, consideration of resolution R-2017-2180, a resolution amending Washington County's general fees for services for the Washington County Information Technologies Department. Andy, it's good to see you here.
It's good to see you guys.
But we missed you at the staff meeting yesterday.
Oh.
Publicly called out.
Yeah, that hurts. I made our other meeting, so.
You did.
Okay, so you guys have questions on this one?
In my mind, I think everything is the same on this as like years previous. I think the real reason we're here is we have a software maintenance fee that goes up every year. It's all called out in our service agreement contracts that we do with the many title companies. I think we sign an agreement, or we service about somewhere between 25 and 30 title companies that need a little bit extra connectivity to our tax system. And in there, we pass along the service maintenance or the yearly service maintenance contract amount or fee that we use for a title system or title access and access to our tax system. So I think that one is set to be $292, and it's going to go up every year 5%.
So are just the title companies the only customers who would use this?
That's correct. There are some other fees that are included in this resolution that are fees for kind of additional services that the general public doesn't need. So the general public can pretty much access tax information for individual properties or areas or subdivisions pretty much through 5 different methods on our website, anywhere from our interactive map viewer to tax information searches to the assessor property searches, assessment information searches that are more like your property codes and things like that, your property taxation codes and assessment codes and that kind of thing. So do you guys have any questions on this?
Well, I was going to say that the one map that we have, the interactive, where people can go in and access their GIS data and click on a parcel, see who owns it, see the taxes. I think that's probably the most effective tool that the public has dealing with land issues. I mean, across the board, realtors, engineers, like everybody just uses it. So good job keeping that going.
Awesome.
So Andy, on this general fee schedule, you've got public extract, $200, assessor database, 300, photos 100, sketches 100. Is that changed or is that unchanged?
No, I think, and I've only been an IT director for about 18 months, but I believe that's that same fee that's been charged or kind of was initially approved as a consortium of all the elected officials that kind of contribute to the tax system. I think that's been, you kind of put me on the spot, but I'm guessing that's been in place for about 10 years. That's
Thank you.
And Commissioner, I can just kind of split the public a little bit on that. So the county contracts with the system that allows our assessor's office to work a lot faster and do things. And private industry will come in and want to data mine that information that the county gathers. And so all of these, I think that all of these fees come from that data the county gathers. And as Andy said, a couple of years ago, I sat in on a meeting with county assessors and county clerks and county commissioners from around the state, where they were saying, how do we charge a fee for this that fits under the statute, that's fair to our taxpayers, that bear the burden.
The expense of gathering and compiling that data that somebody else wants to mine, probably for nothing.
Yeah, and so, you see these fees, you're like, what, they're charging $300 for something, but that's what it comes from, and that's why these fees are set this way, and they are pretty uniform across.
Well, I appreciate the explanation, because just the uniformity of the fee, the nice even amounts, made me question if it was in fact being based and representative of our costs to compile the data. It's probably a very good deal.
Very good. So, seeing no more questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve resolution number R-2017-2180, resolution amending the Washington County general fees for services for the Washington County Information Technology Department.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Thanks, Andy. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 12, consideration of resolution R-2017-2181, a resolution amending the fees for services for the Washington County Justice Court. And, let's see, Eric or Zach?
I guess
you.
So a lot of the fees in justice court are set by the state, so we don't have a lot. But one of the things that we've been trying to do is make it easier for people to utilize certain, use credit cards. And so one of the things that the justice court is allowing is people to use credit cards. The tough thing is that the code says you have to charge a certain fee, let's say to file a lawsuit against somebody. but then the credit card company charges a fee. And so these new fees reflect what the state's already mandating, but still now allows people to use a credit card, and then we crack on an extra fee to recover that, essentially. And
These look to be very consistent with what we just did for the treasurer department.
Exactly.
For example, debit card, credit card.
Yep.
And we just lowered it from 3 to 2.5, and this is calling out 2.45%. And so anyway, and the 25 cents paid for photocopies is consistent across the counties. So I would make a motion that we approve resolution R-2017-2181, a resolution amending the fees for services for the Washington County Justice System.
I'll second the motion.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 13, Commissioners Report.
I'd be happy to report that last week, 2 of us attended the Utah Association of Counties conference in Vernal. Several of our other department heads and elected officials also participated in that. I find these to be a great point of collaboration and focus where we can work on common areas, educate each other on points that we've learned so that we're not constantly reinventing the wheels. And as a new commissioner, I really appreciate the mentoring that I get from that experience, and I'd like to express my appreciation to Mr. Ranstrom for staying here in Dixie and holding down everything and keeping the county running well while we were gone.
You know, the opportunity to stay in Washington County or go to Vernal,
Yeah.
this is on the public record, isn't it? Never mind.
One thing about driving to Vernal, it makes you appreciate how far it is. So anyway, well, I guess the only thing I have to report is intergenerational poverty. A lot of you know that the county was tasked with putting together a committee to collaborate with the state on a plan for that. Our committee's been functioning very well, and we should have that plan by our June 2nd deadline. Out of that, the state did form a county subcommittee. We had our first meeting yesterday, and I was selected to co-chair that, which means I'll sit on that committee and then go and report back to the Welfare Reform Commission as well as we work through this plan. I did that primarily because I don't have very much to do here at the county, so I figured I needed another committee. No, really the reason I did was because this is a very serious issue, and as we develop this plan, and especially in Washington County, I think it's important that our voice get heard on a state level. And we've talked about that as commissioners, and a lot of times we do vent frustration that our voice isn't heard as much as it should be with state leadership. But I think part of that might be because we don't always show up at the meetings. So anyway.
Commissioners, I just thought maybe I would add that at the fairgrounds building, that I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the picture yet, but they are starting to pour the footings. So that's exciting for us.
That is exciting for us.
Moving right along.
Well, I guess as long as we're talking about happy things, Ron Whitehead, we have received word that the state is going to give us a grant that will allow us to get water out to the shooting sports park. So that's going to be kind of fun. The way they don't have to haul water to keep those trees alive at the shotgun range or flush the toilet. Yeah, so good things happen. All right, well, with that, we'll stand adjourned. Thanks.